Now, the second pillar, once mind's eye is handled and used to focus, is to create bonding and following the cycle of bonding. Good leaders, excellent leaders are able to connect, but not just connect. They have to attach and be able to come in a closer proximity to be able to create a bond, actually an emotional bond. This is done by showing interest, being able to connect in a way that there is a mutual influencing. You can see people who don't attach, they're going to be poor leaders. You can see people who attach but don't bond, they're going to be limited in their leadership. But the truly high-performing leaders, they're able to create that synergy that comes with bonding. It means that the juices flow back and forth. It's a kind of electricity. And we can ask the question then, how well bonded is the leader to their team members? How well bonded is the team? And throughout the organization, we want to look for this deeper level bonding. Now there's a problem, because when you create the attachment, you create the bond, there's always going to be at some point a separation. Whether that's a loss, a frustration, a disappointment, it can be any negative event or activity. And that negative opens up the grief process. And the grief process is the process of how humans, all mammals in fact, go through the process of letting go to come back and rebond. So bonding is about ultimately going through this cycle over and over again. The question is this: do people in organizations grieve? And the answer is yes. It can be over a loss of a promotion. It can be over the loss of a contract, loss of a beloved boss who leaves, loss of a organizational structure. The losses can be in feedback, and in personal life it happens. It can be over the loss of a family member, a divorce, an accident. You name the losses that happen to all people. The question is, in high performance, how fast can you go through that bonding cycle and come back and reconnect? This means you have to understand also the stages of grief. First of all is the ability to go through the denial. That's the first reaction. Then the emotional stages kick in. How do you handle the anger and the protest? There's a fighting back to what has been lost, even if it's in a feedback process, even if it's in a lost expectation. And then comes the sadness, that emotion of letting go in which you feel the missing. And then the fear can set in. What am I going to do about this? How do I feel disconnected? And from there comes the rational acceptance, through to the emotional acceptance, right on through the process of how do I create a new attachment, because you don't finish the grief process until you find a new connection, a new bond, and then the forgiveness, and finally gratitude. How do you know when you've gone through the grief process? There's a fundamental way. How much joy do you feel in your job? How much joy do you feel in your life? How much gratitude do you feel in your job? How much gratitude do you feel in your life? When people are unhappy, they feel like hostages. That's a fundamental process in which they then have not gone through the grief process.